2020 has reminded us just how fragile humanity's reign over planet Earth really is. A simple virus and life has changed as we know it. But it's not the first time we were threatened by the possibility of Armageddon. Welcome to Fact Nominal, and today it's all about narrowly averting disaster and hanging on by the skin of our teeth as we bring you the 10 times the world almost ended. Number 10. Hold your fire. It's amazing that something so small can bring us to the brink of nuclear war. In 1979, a computer chip glitch falsely indicated that 250 intercontinental ballistic missiles with atomic payloads were on their way to the U.S. from the Soviet Union. In response, the U.S. had their own nuclear weapons loaded into bombers flying north to unleash their own destructive forces. The truth was that a NORAD programmer had run a simulation that somehow made its way into the main warning system. Amazingly, these phenomena of misinformation happened to the Americans again in 1980 and the Soviets in '83, and NATO in both '83 and '95. On each occasion, the cool-headed thinking of military brass on both sides prevented the Cold War from becoming World War III. Number 9. Achoo! Normally, having the flu involves a week resting in bed, sitting on a cup of chicken noodle soup and watching reruns of Judge Judy and Jerry Springer on daytime TV. What you may not realize is that after the First Great War, the world was left in extreme poverty, famine, and eventually sickness. A particularly virulent and deadly strain dubbed the Spanish flu took hold and ripped its way through the global population. The global pandemic wiped out at least 3 times as many people as World War I, and in the end had taken a death toll of at least 50 million and possibly exceeding 100 million. That's anywhere from 3% to 6% of all the world's inhabitants. Number 8. Forget GMO, buy organic. The 1990s were a strange time. Boy band NSYNC and TV show Friends, and a bizarre genetic research that gave rise to the first successful cloning of an organism. Dolly the sheep. European mad scientists also genetically engineered Klebsiella planticola, a soil bacterium specially developed to convert decomposing plant material into alcohol, both for human consumption and for use as fuel. The aim was to prevent the need to burn the remnants of harvested crops in order to revitalize the soil. The truth was that this bacterium was far from a farmer's friend. It didn't wait for a plant to die before eating away at its healthy living roots. If released, it would have created a barren wasteland, leading to a global famine and the eventual collapse of our terrestrial ecosystems. Number 7. Aw, rats! The Dark Ages was not a time for laughter and joy. You could be burned at the stake for being a witch, become a torture victim in the Inquisition, or be killed in battle as the neighboring kingdom eyed off your lands. But that's nothing compared to dying in a pool of your own vomit and excrement as you bleed from your eyes and other orifices while your skin was a horrific mess of bursting black pustules. The Black Plague swept across Europe in 1343 and was carried by fleas, hitching a ride on the backs of black rats. The fleas fed on the blood of humans, the disease wiping out as much as half of the local population, with many people getting sick before breakfast and dead before dinner time. Number 6. Come at me, bro. There have been a couple of times when we've had close encounters of the third kind. The Bonilla comet was discovered by a Mexican astronomer in 1883 after he discovered 450 dark objects in a cloud of fuzzy mist passing close to the face of the sun. What was initially dismissed as dust on his telescope was actually a billion-ton comet on a collision course with Earth that had just broken up, about the same size as the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. In 1989, the asteroid 451 Asclepius passed so close to Earth that it missed us by just 6 hours and would have been equivalent to a 600-megaton nuke. In 2018, we had another close call as asteroid GE3 passed between Earth and the Moon. Number 5. Storm in a teacup. We've all heard of the Mayan calendar, in particular that it predicted the world would end back in 2012. That date came and went, with many drinking from a tall glass of I told you so when the doomsday predictions of conspiracy theorists didn't come to pass. What you may not know, however, was that an apocalyptic event did actually occur around this time in the form of a coronal mass ejection or solar storm. A massive solar flare erupted from the surface of the sun, with the plasma ring ripping through the Earth's orbit, a position we had been in just 9 days prior. The resultant electromagnetic pulse would have fried anything with a circuit worldwide, sending us straight back to the Dark Ages. 4. Turn day into night. The largest ever recorded geomagnetic storm was dubbed the Carrington event. A solar flare burst through our atmosphere and played havoc with the Earth's magnetic field. The resulting interference with the Earth's magnetosphere was so strong, the northern lights, generally viewed in areas close to the North Pole such as Canada, Iceland, and Greenland, was instead seen as far away as Cuba and Hawaii. Telegraph poles around the world were rendered useless, with some bursting into flames. The effect was so bright, many Americans thought that morning had come hours too soon. 3. In the catcher's mitt. The Tunguska event is perhaps the biggest impact to never actually reach the Earth. The force of this explosion in the remote wilderness was so massive that it flattened 80 million trees in an area of 830 square miles. In 1908, it's suspected that a huge asteroid broke through the Earth's atmosphere and thankfully disintegrated a mere 3 miles before it would have made impact. Even so, the shockwave is thought to have been equivalent to 1,000 times the blast detonated over Hiroshima. Although no one was killed, nearby villagers reported an intense blue flash of light in the sky, followed by a shockwave that broke windows hundreds of miles away and even knocked them off their feet. Number 2. Manic volcanic. Volcanoes are the huge swollen zits that sit on the face of the Earth, and when one pops, it can change the world. In 1983, a volcanic fissure of titanic proportions ripped through southern Iceland that spewed 2,500 kilometers of toxic gas and ash into the atmosphere. The toxic cloud killed half of Iceland's livestock population and crops, burnt alive by acid rain. It's estimated over 6 million people died across Europe and as far away as India. Similarly, the Mount Tambora eruption in 1815 in Indonesia pumped out an ash-filled cloud that circled the Earth, with acidic rain sizzling the skin of people caught out in it as far away as South America. It became known as the Year Without Summer and plunged the world into a mini ice age. Number 1. Whoopsie daisy. That was close. Doesn't even begin to describe what happened in Goldsboro, North Carolina back in 1961. A B-52 bomber carrying not one but 2 nuclear bombs experienced catastrophic failure and broke up in midair. At the time, the U.S. government downplayed the danger by the bombs exploding. However, declassified information now shows that one of the bombs did come perilously close to detonating. Each of the 8 megaton payloads would have been roughly 250 times as destructive as the Hiroshima bomb. Nuclear catastrophe on home soil came down to the function of one simple low-voltage switch. We're lucky those close shaves didn't cause the end of the world because we're pretty fond of our tiny pale dot. But if you're an apocalypse enthusiast, I've got some good news. If you just wait around for about 5 billion years, our sun will run out of hydrogen and expand, destroying the Earth in its fiery conclusion. Can't wait! Please hit that like, subscribe, and notification button if you like what you see. And don't forget to check out some of the other amazing videos from Factnominal.